Alright, critical discourse analysis in this video that gonna be discussed by Group 1 as the presenter in this video. Critical discourse analysis in this video is based on these figures' perspective. The first is Roger Fowler, Robert Hodge, Gunther, Kress, and Trew. This study is based and focused on critical linguistics as powerful tool to analyze language as power and ideology to society. Okay, so here we go. Our members from Group 1, English Literature Department in Class B. The first is I am as Gunther, Nadia Riris, Anissa Purnama, Nicholas Sonda, and Muhammad Gian. So based on table of contents, here we are that we have to discuss in this video to make clarify or giving understanding to people who watch this video. The first is definition and the last is conclusion. The content is so beneficial about critical discourse analysis by their perspectives. Alright, the first is definition that's gonna be discussed by Anissa Purnama.
Alright, first is definition. Critical discourse analysis, as developed by Roger Fowler, is a useful tool for understanding how language is used in media coverage. It is defined as a tool to critique and understand how language is used to influence perceptions, maintain power, and shape social reality. Critical linguistics primarily views language as a social practice through which a group solidifies and spreads its ideology.
So the second slide is focused on Roger Fowler, Robert Hodge, Gunther, Kress, and Trew. This slide is focuses on their perspectives and explanation about their own theory. Okay, so next. The first is Roger Fowler. Fowler adopted Michael Holliday's systemic functional linguistic approach. It means that this approach is focused on social context, a functional approach to language, and also grammar as a social semiotic or symbol or signs to interpret people's meaning and people's intention to communicate and speak for influencing and impacting society broadly. And this perspective or approach is focused on critical linguistics because Fowler using language and using a grammar vocabulary to give perspective why structure of grammar is being used and focused on communicators in text and also writers in text also. The second is language as a social and ideological tool. It means that language has its impact like a social and ideological tool to give influence or effect to society. And the third is vocabulary and grammar analysis on ideology in text. In text is not just news, books, but it also literary criticism like novel, poem, and the rest of literary criticism types, and how we can analyze the role of language and society based on vocabulary, grammar, and also how we can select words to give influence, maybe to give a huge impact for society. The second is Robert Hodge and Gunther Kress. Both of them are giving the same perspective in their book. The first is Discourse Analysis and Social Semiotics, how language is used in social context to construct meaning, identities, and power relations. Social semiotics include the social and cultural context, and also in which signs are produced are and interpreted. And also incorporating the concept of ideology, power, intersectionality, hegemony, and representation. Ideology, power, hegemony can shape cultural norms and also influencing, also distributing impact to society. How the first one is dominating, how the second one is not dominating. There may be certain groups, race, or ethnic. And intertextuality is highlighting how meanings are constructed through relationships between texts. And representation refers to how social realities, identities, and relationships are constructed through language and other semiotic resources. And it is shaped by ideological perspectives because representation is like represent or portray social cultural things in society. The third one is multimodality theory. What is multimodality theory? It examines how meaning is made through multi-modes of communication, and also it recognizes text. Different modes have different affordances like possibilities or limitations for meaning making. Maybe it's just for symbol or signs, maybe it's for a language, or maybe it's for communication through language and linguistic use in that text or speech.
Alright, my name is Adira, and I'm here to explain the for the slide of Tony Crew. And alright, Tony Crew is the pioneer of the CDA. And the key point of this is linguistic analysis and the relationship between language and ideology. Second, concept of transitivity, modality, lexical choice, and active and passive voice. Basically, transitivity is how action and participant are structured in sentence to reflect the power dynamics. And for the modality, the expression of possibility, obligation, necessities, which can indicate the authority. And the third is lexical choice. Lexical choice is how you select the word. It's about the selection of words which influence the meanings. And active and passive, how agency is assigned, reflecting responsibilities and emphasis. So, relationship with social context. And let's get back to the second point. These linguistic elements, such as transitivity, modality, lexical choice, and active and passive voice, is linguistic elements that closely tied to social context.
Alright, the next is we are discussing vocabulary. What is vocabulary is being used in analyzing language through critical discourse analysis perspective. Okay. The first is lexical choice. It refers to the selection of certain words by selecting specific words for being used in a text to convey a particular meaning. In CDA, word choice is not considered neutral, but always reflects certain viewpoints, values, ideologies, and also positive or negative words for being used by communicators or speakers, or maybe authors in text or news, and also literary words. The second is loaded words. Words that have strong emotional or ideological connotations. Both of them is maybe positive or negative. The first one is positive and negative, like terrorist. Terrorist is negative, but fighter or hero is positive. But the action is the same, but the intention is different. The third is synonym and antonym. To emphasize or hide certain meanings, and it can build perception for understanding the meaning. Like say, synonyms are used to emphasize or hide certain meanings, and meanwhile, otherwise, antonyms are used to create a dichotomy in the narrative styles of writing. The first is hide, have hidden meanings. The second one is create dichotomy in the written text or speech. The last is euphemism and dysphemism. Euphemism is using a more polite or gentle word to like replace a word that is can be regarded as a harsh word, and dysphemism is replace positive words to negative words. For example, like early retirement, it's positive, but the negative is a layoff. It refers to the employees. The first is being respected, and the second one is not respected. It's harsh and it's positive. So euphemism is positive words that replace negative words, and dysphemism otherwise replace positive with a negative one.
The next is grammar. In general, grammar is about how sentences are built, but according to Fowler and his team, grammar is not just about making correct sentence, but it can also show the power and control. For example, the way we start a sentence can hide or reveal responsibility. For example sentence is mistake were made. It is hide who made the mistake, while the manager made mistake. It is clearly show who is responsible. Next, voice active and passive. In CDA, choosing between active and passive voice can affect how responsibility is sounds in a sentence. Active voice clearly show who did the action. For example, is the company fired 100 workers. It is we know who is responsible, and passive voice can be used to hide the person or group as responsible. For example, is 100 workers were fired. It doesn't say who fired them, making the action seems less direct. Next, modality. Modality is about showing certainty, possibility, and obligation using words like could, should, might, or must. In CDA, modality helps show how confident or forceful someone is when they speak or write. For example is the government must take action. Strong obligation, it sounds urgent and necessary. And then the government might the action. Archetype, there is no guarantee. The last is transitivity. In CDA, transitivity is about understanding who is doing what to do in a sentence. It shows how action and rule are described, relieving who has power and who is effect. For example, the police arrested the protesters. It is the police have the power and the protesters are effect.
Alright, next part is analytical framework. In analytical framework, the language used by the media is not neutral, but has certain aspects or ideologies. The most important thing here is how reality is portrayed by the media. Reality can be seen in how an event and the actors involved are represented in the news through language. Here, we realize that language as a representation of reality may change and be completely different from reality itself. If an article is analyzed using Roger Fowler's model, the focus is on language practice. There are two things. First is words. How an event or actor involved will be described by language. Words are not just signs or identities but are related to certain ideologies, the meaning of what they want to communicate to the public, or which party will benefit from these words and which party will be harmed and marginalized. Second is in the structure of words or sentence. How words are arranged into sentence is understood not just a technical matter of linguistics, but of language practice. It emphasizes how patterns of arrangement, combination, structuring provide effects. Arranging one party to have more advantage or a positive image than another party, or certain events being understood in some categories as more favorable than in different categories.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Nicholas. And now I will explain about journal example. So let's begin. Journal example 1. The title is Discourse Analysis and the Newly Qualified Social Worker, Liberty Protection, Safeguard and Beyond. In this journal, the author discussed a significant change in vocabulary from deprivation of liberty to liberty protection. This shift in language reflects a more positive understanding of human rights. The author argued that this change influences how social workers interact with human rights issues. By using more empowering language, social workers can better advocate for the rights of individuals they serve. The main takeaway here is that language matters. The way we frame issues can change perception and improve practice in social work. Okay, next for journal example 2, the title is Discourse Analysis Technique, a critical tool for reading comprehension. This journal investigate discourse analysis can be integrated into reading instruction. The author critique traditional teaching methods that often rely on grammar and vocabulary. They argue that incorporating DA can enhance comprehension skill among students in higher education. By analyzing the structure and context of text, students can develop a deeper understanding of the material. The important message for this example is that discourse analysis is not just about language. It's a powerful tool can be improved how we can understand and engage with text. Okay, for the lastly, journal example 3, title is Discourse Analysis in English Language Teaching. In this journal, the author explores how discourse analysis provides insight into language use in various contexts. The highlight that the A can improve vocabulary decoding, which is essential for language learner. Additionally, it enhances student critical thinking and language production skill. By understanding how language works in different situations, students can become more effective communicators. The takeaway from this example is that discourse analysis is beneficial not only for understanding language but also for developing an essential skill in English language teaching. And for summary, this journal example illustrates the importance of discourse analysis in various fields, from social work to education. By understanding how language shapes our interaction and comprehension, we can improve practice and outcome in these areas. Thank you for attention.
Alright, it's my turn again. Case study. Okay. In this case study, we use a representation of ideology in criminal news, texts about children in online media, a critical discourse analysis by Roger Fowler. And in this article, the authors analyze how online media portrays a criminal incident involving children, focusing on linguistic elements that reveal underlying ideologies. And the result is the study analyzed how media language shapes perception of juvenile offenders through specific linguistic strategies. It highlights the use of modality. Like I was explaining before, what is modality? Words like must or should to convey societal expectations around legal actions, implying a prescriptive stance. Additionally, the introduction of labels such as teenage delinquents or underage perpetrators can negatively frame young offenders, potentially reinforcing the stereotypes. Alright. And the second, In terms of grammatical structures, the researcher notes the use of passive constructions. The store was robbed by teenagers, which shifts focus from the individuals to crime itself, potentially diffusing the responsibilities. And nominalizations, like theft instead of stealing, further depersonalize actions by abstracting them from the offenders. Together, these language choices can subtly influence public attitudes, reinforcing societal biases toward young and criminality. And that's all for the case study. Next.
And lastly, I'm going to be explaining about the conclusion. So, the conclusion in this one is critical discourse analysis is used to analyze the power of language as a tool or power for people who are influential in the narrow or broad scope of society. Basically, they want to learn into language like learn a new, for example, like German, Serbia, Croatia, and etc. In the critical discourse analysis of Roger Fowler, Robert Hodge, Gunther, Kress, and Tony emphasize that language is not neutral and can be analyzed from the linguistic side. Which is basically they wanted to learning the language is nothing neutral about. They want to learn the language very well, so like wanted to speak in not in a very bad way language they spoke. Starting from the choice of vocabulary and grammar can be criticized for its intent and purpose for the wider community. So vocabulary and grammar they are a little bit more important to basically about learning about the vocabulary and grammar they want to learn. So criticism can be from various journals, texts, news, and speeches in a broad scope to influence society. So for like a journalist explained by one of my friends. Yeah, this kind of could be an interesting one.
Alright, that's all from us. We have presented our best presentation. And thank you for you all that have watched and understood what we have conveyed. If you have any questions, just drop your question in the comments below. And before closing our presentation, there's a word from Siddhartha Buna Gautama. It depends and it refers to the language. Words have the power to both destroy and heal. When words are both true and kind, they can change the world. Alright, thank you and enjoy your time. Bye bye.